Shalom everyone! Shabbat Shalom! It's Friday again. This time it's a double parasha, Parashat Matot-Masei. In our parasha we have many different topics that we discuss, from keeping oaths, to fighting the Midianites, to settling the land, the tribes of Reuven and Gad, and all of the internal Jewish politics involved. But I want to focus on the second parasha that we read, Parashat Masei. In Parashat Masei we discuss and we list in a beautiful song all of the different stops along the way that the Jews passed through the desert throughout the 40 years. And famously, we sing them in shul. וייסעו מעלוש ויחנו ברפידים, וייסעו מרפידים ויחנו מדבר סיני, וייסעו מדבר סיני ויחנו בקברות התאווה. And we traveled from here and we stopped there. וייסעו means and they traveled from X, וייסעו מ-X, ויחנו ב-Y, and they stopped and they settled and they made camp at Y, and then they traveled from Y and they made camp at Z. And so throughout the travels throughout the desert, not all of these are mentioned in our actual stories that we meet throughout Sefer Vayikra Bamidbar, and nonetheless, here is the opportunity for us to go through each and every one of them, to mention them and to commemorate them. Another thing that we have going on this week is it is Parashat Matot-Masei, but it is also Shabbat Rosh Chodesh. And this Shabbat happens to be the very first day of the month of Av. Month of Av, a very important month. We have in a week coming up, not this Sunday, but the Sunday after that, Tisha B'Av, the saddest day in the Jewish calendar, in which we commemorate the destruction of the temples and many other tragedies that happened to the Jewish people. And this is the beginning of the month of Av. And as Chazal tell us, Mishenichnas Av Ma'atim B'Simcha, the beginning of Av is already a time for sadness and reflection. And this year, the Sfaradim, who do not have a week before Tisha B'Av, since Tisha B'Av falls on a Sunday, are in many ways not keeping all of the traditions of Avelut, but the Ashkenazim are, and the Ashkenazim already from this coming Sunday do not eat meat, do not eat wine, do not go on adventures and swimming and that kind of stuff, do not have hot showers, do not do laundry, and all sorts of other things that really remind us of Avelut, remind us of the mourning that we are in. The month of Av also comes at a funny time in the year. If you think about it, obviously the Jewish year has two beginnings. We can either start at Nisan with with the very first Chodesh, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodeshim, or we can start at Rosh Hashanah. When we start at Rosh Hashanah, the very beginning of the year, Av is to a certain degree the second to last month. If we start from Tishrei, we go all the way around the calendar, we get to Av, the next month is Elul, and then it's already Rosh Hashanah. So seemingly, it's not the end of the year. And yet, in two ways, we treat it like it is the end of the year. First of all, in the calendar, we have the school year starting usually at the 1st of September. The 1st of September usually comes straight after the month of Av. So everyone kind of is on vacation at this point in the year, which is kind of the end of the year. You've finished up whatever work you were doing, the projects, you've closed your emails, you've turned off your phone, you're away, you're reading a book on a beach. This is what you're doing. This is the month of Av, you're on vacation. And then at the end of that, September comes, the year starts, and we're back to the work. But that's not the only way that we commemorate this month in that way. Even Jewishly, in the Jewish tradition, the month of Elul, which is the last month of the year, is very often seen as a precursor for Tishrei. We start blowing the shofar from Rosh Chodesh Elul. The shofar is from Rosh Hashanah. We already start the whole concept of tshuva and Hamelech Basader, and God is close, and this is an opportunity to start thinking about the next year and doing repenting and starting afresh. So Elul already is tagged on to the next year. So Av is the last month of this year. And Av is a beautiful month if we know how to appreciate it properly. And I would like to propose a connection between the parasha and Rosh Chodesh Av. In the parasha, we keep talking about the journey. Masei, we went from X to Y, we went from Y to Z. we constantly moved, and we have two important words that constantly appear time and time again throughout Parashat Masei. Vayachanu, vayisu. Vayisu, vayachanu. And they traveled, and they settled. And they traveled, and they settled. And they left, and they arrived. And they left, and they arrived. And each place is mentioned twice. First when they arrived, and then when they left. And the question is, why do you need to write every single time? And they left, and they arrived. It's clear. You could just say, and they left from X to Y to Z, and you could just list a whole list of places. We know throughout the Tanakh, sometimes it just lists places. It doesn't need to give us every single time, and they left, and they arrived, and they left, and they arrived. The answer to this that I would like to propose is that whenever we are in a specific place, whether it's physical or whether it's even a period in time, when we're in a certain kind of era or certain time of kind of zman, when we are in, as we are, for example, now, we are currently in a period of war, of instability. When we're in this moment, we have to recognize that there are times when we will be on the go, when we're entering into this moment, or when we're leaving this moment. But there are also times where we have to recognize that we need to stay in the moment. Vayachanu. Every single time in history, every single step and stop on the different, on the board, if you think of it like, I like, with my family, I often like to play the game of life, where you see on the board the snake of each and every stop is a different point of your life. If you think of each and every, kind of train stop along the tracks, each and every different stage, whether it's of an individual's life or of a communal, of a community or of a nation, you need to recognize there are times when you need to stop. And we need to look around and we can say, okay, what can we take from this moment? How can we live in the moment? How can we not constantly think about what's going to be tomorrow? This period is the period of vacation. Constantly, being worried about, what's happening at the end of vacation? What's coming up at the end of vacation? What is it that's around the corner? I've only got 10 more days. I've got 9 more days. I've got 8 more days. No, to stop and to think, wait, at the moment, where am I right now? And why am I here? And what can I gain from this moment? What can I inspire myself, my surroundings? What can I learn from being in the now? That is Vayachanu. And I think this ties in beautifully with the month of Av. The month of Av is a month where very often people like to get through it. Like the 9 days. From the 1st of Av to the 9th of Av. Everyone's always counting, when's the 9 days over? How many more days to the 9 days? I want to be past the 9 days. The 9 days are days which are not fun. I want to be in the fun days of Av. And indeed, we find later on in Av, the 15th of Av, Tu B'Av, is one of the happiest days in the Jewish calendar. We'll talk about that in a second. When can I already get to the moment after Tisha B'Av? When I can go back to my regular life? And at the moment is, no, wait a second. Let's be in the here and now. Let's be in the Vayachanu. Let's be in the moment where we can recognize, wait a second, this is an amazing opportunity. In Elul, we will have the opportunity to do self-reflection for ourselves. Where am I as an individual? But Av is the month where we do communal and national and maybe even historical reflection. Where is 2025 in Jewish history? Where are we as a nation? Where are we going? What have we achieved? What have we experienced in this year? How has this moved the dial forwards? What are we missing to progress to the next stage? How can we make this Av a more meaningful and a more important Av? How can we use the time that we're given? How can we be in a state of Vayachanu, not just Vayisau? And I think each and every year we are constantly moving between Tisha B'Av, which is a day which we commemorate a moment of perud, a moment of separation, of where the communal bonds fell apart. Sinat chinam, we fought each other, we were not unified as a Jewish people, we did not recognize the value of our fellow Jews. And that hopefully will move us, progress us to Tu B'Av, which we celebrate the bringing together of the tribes, the ability of the tribes to once more be one nation under God, once more be unified together. Marriage is able to happen. Tu B'Av is the festival of love and bringing, brother to brother and husband to wife. And this is the moment of, again, moving from separation to togetherness, from Vayis'u to Vayachanu. And beautifully, there are 7 days in between Tisha B'Av included and Tu B'Av. And Chazal tell us that in the future, Tisha B'Av will become a Chag. And I like to imagine, if it's a Chag, maybe there's Chol HaMoed, and 7 days later, there's another Chag. There's, Shmini Shel Tisha B'Av, Shmini Shel Av, or Tu B'Av, in which case this one festival, Vayis'u Vayachanu, can become one. And together we can recognize the ability to really bring the Jewish people together. So with that blessing, Bezat Hashem, I give us a bracha that this month, and specifically this coming week, we stay in the moment and we recognize them, and we don't try and make it past. We try and give ourselves as a nation, as an individuals, as a community, a moment of self-reflection to really recognize, why are we here? Why did God put us in this stop and in that stop and in the future stop? Where were we? Where are we going? Where are we now? And with that, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, a Chodesh Tov, and a meaningful